Hello, it is Friday, April 15th, 2022. I'm Chris Remo, and welcome back to the New York Times Crossword Daily Solve. It's a Friday puzzle, so it is our first of two themeless puzzles for the week. And just through the little gap in the privacy veil here, I can see this looks like a pretty open grid. This is going to be quite a lot of fill, it seems, but we'll get to that in a moment. This edition of the Daily Solve has been brought to us by Camtron, Stace Spicy, and, as always, the inestimable Hood Monster, as well as the invaluable Timothy Mark. So thank you so much to the four of them, benefactors of the Daily Solve Patreon campaign, for contributing directly and helping make this a sustainable part of my daily work. I do very much appreciate that, as I appreciate the support from everybody who has backed the Patreon campaign. And yesterday I solved the most recent Bosswords Spring Themeless League competition puzzle for the Patreon campaign. That will go up tomorrow once the solution has been released, so as not to accidentally propagate spoilers into the world. And it was an interesting solve. I did it under the par time, so I was very pleased that I didn't exceed the 20-minute barrier, but I did get one answer wrong at the end. I was completely baffled by one cell at the end that really stumped me. I'm very frustrated by it. But anyway, that'll be up there for all Patreon backers. Of course, if you back the Patreon campaign at any level, you do get access to all of those bonus videos, the full archive, as well as the new ones that go up each week. And at the benefactor tier, you also get the Let's Check the Crosses Daily Solve official mug. And everybody also gets the extra channel on the Daily Solve Discord chat server, the rest of which is free for all to join. So check out all of those things. And another free thing is subscribing to the channel. Thank you for everybody who's done so and pushed us above 6,000 subscribers recently. That was very nice. All right, let's get on to today's puzzle. As I said, this is a Friday themeless, the first of two themeless puzzles of the week. It was constructed by Trenton Charlson, a experienced New York Times crossword constructor who's done a few dozen puzzles, and it was edited, as always, by Will Shorts. So, let's get going. Let's play. Now, this is an interesting pattern here. So it is radially symmetric. We just have these odd cross patterns illustrated by the black cells. This is just a strange looking grid. I don't know that it probably doesn't mean anything. It is strange looking. But anyway, let's get going. Means of supervision, and there's a question mark, so some kind of pun or wordplay. But I'm going to, I think, start with the downs here because they're a little bit shorter, so they might be easier. So beyond steamy. And it could be hot, but I don't know that that's beyond steamy per se. That would be steamy. Beyond steamy. Wet, maybe? Not sure. Boy's name that means king. It could be Rex, I suppose. And rose by another name? Question mark, so some kind of pun or wordplay. Now, I wonder if this could mean not rose the flower, as in a rose is a rose is a rose, but rather got up, arose, awoken by another name. Rose by another name. Could be Axl Rose in 3 letters. What about this X here? What can strike up a tune? There are quite a few pun wordplay clues in this puzzle so far. And kisses and hugs. Yeah, I'm not sure. Anybody there? Fair. Accompaniment for a bottle of rum. Accompaniment for a bottle of rum. Yo ho ho? Is in the piratey, the sea shanty, yo ho ho, and a bottle of rum, perhaps? Wonder if that's what that means. Let's check the crosses here. Discover fortuitously. Happen upon or hit on? You could hit on something, discover it fortuitously as an idea. Florida City in the middle of horse country. Okay, I think from Crosswords it's Ocala, perhaps? I think I have seen that in Crosswords before, and the O is making me think perhaps that's the answer. Here we have rarer than rare. So it could be, the most obvious interpretation would be the least common sort of thing, but it could, the rare meaning uncommon, but it could also be rare as in meat being cooked rare. So to a low temperature. Not sure. And here we have grande something, part of France's higher education system. I don't know. École could be similar. Yeah, I mean, école means school in French, so that could be the answer. I don't know much about the French higher education system, unfortunately. Fire up could be rev up. You're getting somebody revved up. You're getting them fired up. And as always, the up in parentheses here means we're going to apply it not just to the clue, but to the answer as well. So the answer should also have an up at the end of it. Rev up would be how we would compare it to fire up. Blank game annual event on the second Saturday of December. This looks like Navy, Army Navy? Army Navy game. So I suspect this is military academies who have a sports rivalry or something that is played out on the second Saturday of December. That's my suspicion. And saint associated with the Russian alphabet, probably Cyrus, because the Russian alphabet is Cyrillic. I remember I've been to Moscow once. I was there for about a week, and it was very very fascinating experience to sort of learn the Cyrillic alphabet over the course of that week. I mean, not that I learned how to speak Russian by any means. I absolutely did not. But just by implication, sort of figuring out how to transliterate the letters in the Cyrillic alphabet to the Roman alphabet just by sort of seeing them and comparing things. It wasn't really an intentional thing. It just sort of happened after needing to interpret for the whole week to get around. Co-winner of the 1994 Nobel Peace Prize. Is it Yasser Arafat? Raise, you could raise a child, rear a child. I can relate, one might say. Winter Festival. Is it Tet? Here we have absorbed, could be 8. This does look like Arafat, doesn't it? Occasion for druids to gather at Stonehenge. Oh, probably not Cyrus, but Cyril. That would be a much better fit, wouldn't it? Cyril, Cyrillic. I wonder if Cyril and Cyrus are the same name in different languages, different cultures. So fall, what, equinox or something? That fits. Let's check the crosses. Soft shade could be aqua, maybe? Soft shade of blue. And here, watch from the shadows say is to lurk. As it happens, could be live. We're watching this event play out live as it happens. And then what is this? Everything considered, all in all. This is going pretty well so far. Rail construction. Rail construction. So I assume this means rail in the sense of trains, but is it? What about this? Keep on keeping on. Stop for a bit. Take 10 minutes maybe? Rail construction. Oh, but a rail is also a bird, isn't it? Isn't a rail is a kind of bird, so perhaps a nest. And so to keep on keeping on is to survive. That's a little tricky there, a bit of misdirection, I think. A small grouse could be a nit. So actually, speaking of, so here we have a grouse is also a bird, but in this case, we're not using it as a bird. So here we had rail, which we probably would interpret as not a bird, and it's meant to be a bird. And then here, a small grouse is not a bird, but rather a nit. You're just picking a nit. You're grousing about something. You're complaining in a minor way. So anyway, to stop for a bit probably could be take 2, but I'm guessing it's take 10. And shelter from a storm, perhaps. A cove. You could shelter from a storm in a cove on the coast. And draft teammates, ? Are oxen. So you could draft in the sense of a team of oxen pulling a plow or something like that. And again, the question mark means some kind of pun or wordplay. So we need to look past the more obvious reading of this, which would maybe refer to drafting in the sense of I don't know what alternative word for it to use, but to enlist a player onto a team, for instance. Anyway, flim-flammers. Con men, maybe? They're going to take you in. Fictional narrator whose first name is a fruit. Fictional narrator whose first name is a fruit. Not sure offhand. Hopefully I can get that with some crosses. Let's go back up to where we have many more crosses in the puzzle. Rarer than rare, and then here we have easy mark. So an easy mark is a patsy, perhaps? And a place to pick up. So an easy mark in this case meaning someone who is actually easily targeted by con men, for instance. A patsy. Place to pick up litter. So again, we have a question mark, and that means some kind of pun or wordplay. So I think here litter probably doesn't mean rubbish on the ground, discard, but rather a litter of puppies or kittens or something like that. So it could be a pet store. And a comeback that sounds like a Star Wars character. It could be R2. You are not R2. R2 referencing R2-D2, obviously, the droid from Star Wars. And silent era, maybe? Silent era, silent film era, I think that would refer to in this case. And then rarer than rare. Oh, tartare. So it is meat in this case. Even rarer than rare meat would be tartare, the meat served raw. Or sometimes you could have a fish like a salmon tartare as well. Unlike filibusters. So a filibuster is a parliamentary procedure, I think best known from the U.S. Senate, in which a legislator can hold up a vote by speaking on some topic that doesn't even seem to need to relate to the actual topic of the bill, but speaking for hours or even days on end at times. And so unlike that would be terse. You're speaking tersely, unlike a filibuster in which you're sort of a bit of a being intentional windbag. So without incident, safely maybe? So that proceeded safely, it proceeded without incident. And an alchemist's offering, an elixir maybe. An alchemist could mix substances in an elixir. So here we have what looks like appropriate, but I think is actually appropriate and steal. I'm going to appropriate your goods. I'm going to steal them. Fictional narrator whose first name is a fruit. Huckleberry Finn, the great Mark Twain character from The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn and also Tom Sawyer. So huckleberry is a fruit. One end of the narthex. Wow, what is that? I don't think I know this word. What about this very long answer here? Epitome. Epitome. This looks like example. So an epitome of something would be the highest example or the best example of it. So what? Not sure, but let's look at some of these crosses. Who wrote, "All that we see or seem is but a dream within a dream"? Is it Poe? Edgar Allan Poe? Pipe cleaner could be lye. Lye is a substance that is, I don't know, I guess it's a base. It's very abrasive. I guess it could be used as a pipe cleaner probably. And high rails. So here we have another instance of rail, but in this case, it's not the bird. I think it is the train. And so high rails, in other words, an elevated train, or L trains, Ls. Tune with a brother named Castor. So this looks like olive oil. It's the Popeye character, right? So olive oil must have a brother named castor oil, which seems plausible enough to me. Oh, one end of the this must be a term for a specific piece of church architecture, because a nave is certainly a part of interior church architecture, and so the narthex must be a bigger architectural component that includes the nave. So that's interesting. I'll have to look that up. This looks like Pyrenees. Yeah, Pyrenees. Yeah, so locale in southwest France. So the mountain chain, the Pyrenees. And a keystone figure. So the Keystone Cops were an early film sort of recurring group of characters who were kind of bumbling around and came up in the crossword a few months ago, I think. And someone looked them up and determined that the last sort of full Keystone Cops film came out in 1919 or something outrageous like that. But the characters did continue to occasionally appear in other works for few more decades. Anyway, the Keystone Cops, probably more often referenced than actually seen these days. Epitome. So what is this? Textbook example. Ah, yes. So you could say this is an epitome, the epitome of a Friday themeless crossword. This is a textbook example of a Friday themeless crossword. Prefix with asic could be the Triassic age of the Earth, I guess. Wireless network necessity. You need a router for a wireless network, and countless lifetimes would be an eon. So you could say the Triassic period was eons ago. Oxford pad, e.g. So the most obvious way to read this would be as a pad of paper, I think, but I wonder if it's referring to Oxford, the city in England, and maybe this is referring to some kind of British English terminology. Oh, no, it's not. No, it's not. Sorry, it's referring to Oxford shoes, the Oxford style of shoe. And so a literal pad inside an Oxford shoe could be an insole. There we go. Here we have his brother was no keeper. Be Abel, whose brother Cain was, I suppose, the first murderer as depicted in the Bible. So no keeper, that Cain. A mythological lyrist. Is it lyrist or lyrist? I'm actually not sure, but a player of the lyre, someone who plays the instrument, the lyre, would be Erato, who's one of the muses, right? And to employ for lack of better options would be to resort to. So, yeah, I had to employ that technique for lack of better options. I had to resort to it. Industrial support could be a bar, an I bar or an H bar, maybe. Often you'll get these sorts of things in the crossword where it generically refers to some kind of item that needs a letter in front of it, but there isn't really any way to disambiguate it without simply getting the crosses. Okay, let's see. What is this? Network of nerves in the abdomen. Oh, your solar plexus, right? You have a network of nerves there that is, I suppose, particularly sensitive or susceptible to injury if struck. You could get punched in the solar plexus and it would really hurt. Critical could be dire. You could say you're in dire straits, critical situation. And refreshers, maybe dips into a lake, maybe, but that would be two I's in a row, which would be sort of surprising, so I don't think that's right. Here we have negotiation site that led to the 1994 Nobel Peace Prize, the Oslo Accords. Oh, was that? Yeah, look at that. Co-winner of the 1994 Nobel Peace Prize. So here we have a nice little echo. It's a themeless puzzle, so this isn't related to any broader theme in the crossword, I don't think. It's just a nice little echo, and we've had a couple of those throughout this puzzle. I suppose that's a nice thing to do in a themeless puzzle, just to give the solver a bit of something that makes the puzzle feel constructed and intentional as opposed to arbitrary. Have we looked at this yet? I don't think so. Reiterated refusal. So this could be no. Oh, I said no. So you're reiterated refusal. So you're reiterating, you're once again expressing your refusal, and you're saying, I said no, I already said no, and now I'm reiterating it. So refreshers. Oh, naps. You could take a nap, take a refresher. There we go. Admissions to a counselor. I'm not immediately seeing it. Sorry. What about this? Pioneer in instant messaging. AOL Instant Messenger was a cornerstone of the, I don't know, late 90s, early 2000s internet, I suppose. Admissions to a counselor. What is this? And here we have buzz off. Could be shoo. You could say that to a fly, or I guess an annoying person. Why do I not see what this is? Blank jure by the law itself. Ipso Ipso jure, by the law itself. Oh, phobias, admission to a cow. There we go. Okay. I needed every single crossing letter in order to arrive at the admission to a counselor, or the admissions to a counselor, which are phobias. You could admit to a counselor, a therapist, your fears, your phobias. Okay, so ipso jure, by the law itself. That makes sense. And then anybody there. Maybe yoo-hoo. So I guess the question mark and exclamation point at the end of anybody there are doing a little bit of work, because if you simply had anybody there with just the question mark, I think what you'd maybe want here is an answer that's a bit less excitable. You're simply saying, "Oh, anybody there? Is it you?" or something like that, or who is it? Something. But the addition of the exclamation point turns this into something exclamatory, and so it becomes more appropriate for it to be you who you're sort of insistent, and it's turning into, maybe there's a tinge of frustration or maybe slight mockery. There's some sort of additional emotion that's going into it. And we also have this funny little, we have yoo-hoo and yo-ho-ho parallel to one another, which is a funny little slight echo. So here we have a tiny bit of concern. Tiny bit of concern. Not sure. What about this? Beautiful and rare. Exotic, maybe? A tiny bit of concern. A hoot? Not sure exactly. I mean, exotic could be wrong. Kisses and hugs. Oh. Maybe this is XOXOXO or something. Is that possible? Maybe boy's name that means king is not in fact Rex. Let's just try it. Let's try this and see what happens. Kisses and hugs. XOXO. Let's see if this works. Fair. An expo? An exposition? A fair? So I guess I see. A tiny bit of concern is a hoot. Yes. I don't give a hoot. I don't give one hoot. I don't give one tiny bit of concern. It's fair enough, I suppose. And Chaz to share. So is this Chaz to share? Oh, son. Is Chaz right? So Cher was married to Sonny Bono, and then Chaz Bono. Is that sort of kind of rings a bell? I'm not 100% confident, but I think that might be the answer. Anyway, what can strike up a tune? Oh, a xylophone mallet. Look at this. This is a very funny little area of this crossword. Everything is sort of folding in on itself. All these X, Y's, and O's are all just jumbled together. I kind of like it. It's a funny little, and there are actually quite a few X's actually throughout look at this. This is sort of an almost themed crossword, and O's are all over the place. Interesting. And we have Y's. Yeah, it almost has a micro theme. It doesn't really, you wouldn't call this a themed crossword because it doesn't really add up to, I don't think that it adds up to anything. It looks almost like Trenton Charleston, the constructor, set himself a little personal goal to construct a crossword that really over indexes, as they say sometimes, on X, Y, and O, and just goes nuts with them. And they're all over the place in this puzzle, actually. Certainly at a much higher proportion than they are in standard English. So, I see. So this is why I couldn't figure out Beyond Steamy. It's XXX, as in the shorthand used for adult material. And I'm not surprised that didn't come to mind initially because it's not really a word. But it's a funny thing to kick off your one down with right at the beginning of the puzzle. Boy's name that means king. Oh, Roy. Yeah, okay, there we go. So they're more similar to French for king rather than the Latin for king. Although, this looks strange. Oh, no, it's correct. Means of supervision, X-ray eyes. Wow, never in 1,000 years would I have landed on X-ray eyes as the first thing to put into this puzzle. Although my Axl Rose guess, Rose by another name, Axl Rose of Guns N' Roses, I guess, the singer of Guns N' Roses, was actually correct. Go figure. That was a delightful Friday crossword. Yeah, that is so interesting. What a funny puzzle this is. Just a strange, interesting construction. I really like it. Yeah, it's just a funny thing. So we have this XOXO, which is almost our sort of, it's a pseudo revealer, I suppose, of our non-themed, micro-themed puzzle. 4, 5, 6. How many X's are in this puzzle? Quite a few. 7, 8, 9. I mean, there maybe only 9, but that's quite a lot for a non-themed crossword, because certainly the X does not occur that frequently in standard English. Yeah, just a funny little crossword with it has sort of maybe you wouldn't call it a theme, but it has a sort of character to it, and you can feel that the constructor was having fun with this or trying to do something, even if the thing he was trying to do, as I say, doesn't turn into a theme. It doesn't turn into subject matter or anything like that. It's just a funny little thing. And we do have these little X's, these sort of crosses in the puzzle that don't really look like X's per se. But again, it's a little tiny, tiny tip of the hat to what's going on. Yeah, a fun puzzle by Trenton Charlson. I really enjoyed that. And I found this certainly easier than yesterday's puzzle, actually, I would say. This section up here is absolutely bonkers with triple X, X-ray eyes, XOXOXO, xylophone mallet, just yoo-hoo and yo-ho-ho. This whole area is almost demented, but once you have the crosses, none of it's necessarily all that difficult. You would just never, ever get these answers without them being crossed considerably, because who would ever possibly alight on X-ray eyes or XXX or 4 pairs of XO consecutively? I mean, it's just unhinged, but it came together perfectly cleanly once we had enough crosses to zero in on what was going on. Anyway, really enjoyed that. Nice work by Trenton Charlson. And now let's discuss a few clues from yesterday's puzzle. I think we actually had several on the Friday, so let's take a look at those. Okay. Perla confirms that Asti, A-S-T-I, is indeed an Italian city in the region of Piedmont, and a sparkling wine is called spumante here, says Perla. Yes, I do know that, and I couldn't bring it to mind, and I said Prosecco, which is presumably a more specific term in the same way that champagne is more specific than sparkling wine, but I couldn't bring spumante to mind. So thank you for reminding me. And then as a follow-up to that, Michael H. says, Chris, I kind of adore how you're never sure about Asti, but always nail it. So I guess this must be a recurring thing with me where I'm always doubtful about Asti, but it ends up being the case. So I'll try to bear that in mind in the future and be a little more confident about my Asti guessing. Kathleen Quinn explains that Currier and Ives, which was familiar to me but I couldn't place why, was a successful printmaking firm in New York City from 1835 to 1907. The firm was prolific, producing prints from paintings by fine artists as black and white lithographs that were hand-colored. Johnny Mathis in Sleigh Ride, the song Sleigh Ride, sang of Christmas time. There's a happy feeling nothing in the world can buy when they pass around the coffee and the pumpkin pie. It'll nearly be like a picture print by Currier and Ives. These wonderful things are the things we remember all through our lives. So I think I must have seen Currier and Ives on probably things like postcards, that sort of thing, that probably have historic Currier and Ives prints on them. That's probably where I know the name. Remy corrected my my mistake in French. A leg in the Tour de France in French would be une étape, not une étage. Étage means floor as a level in a building, not a stage or a leg. So thank you, Remy, for that. I appreciate it. And Dragon Traces explains where the little Jack Horner, he fills in the blanks here about little Jack Horner, who I sort of remembered as being from a nursery rhyme, but I couldn't remember the context. So it's little Jack Horner sat in the corner eating his Christmas pie. He stuck in his thumb and pulled out a plum and said, "What a good boy am I." So there we go. Sounds perfectly familiar once someone said it, but I couldn't bring it to mind at the time. Dragon Trace is also, minor correction, the FHA is the Federal Housing Authority, not the Federal Housing Agency. So thank you. And that's that for yesterday's puzzle, which means that's that for today's video as well. Thanks for joining me. I hope you enjoyed it. I really enjoyed today's puzzle. I thought that was an utter delight. And I will be back tomorrow for The Saturday puzzle, another themeless puzzle. It's probably even more themeless than today's puzzle was, and probably more difficult as well, because I did think this one was maybe on the easy side for a Friday. So anyway, I do hope you come back. I hope you join me. But until that point, please do have an excellent remainder of your Friday. Take care.